What's good, y'all? Welcome to my review for this week's episode of Stardust Crusaders, and oof, this episode was amazing, man. We had a lot of suspense. There was a lot of suspense this episode with the battle between Jotaro and DIO. A lot of cool reveals. Art and animation was spot on. Spectacular voice acting as always from the depth of his mute. We also got during Until Dawn, they also showed off a trailer for Diamond is Unbreakable, and looking forward to seeing Diamond Unbreakable in about 2 weeks. I think it's when we're going to start seeing Diamond is Unbreakable. I think there's like one more episode of Stardust Crusader after this. And then we're going to get into Diamond is Unbreakable, which I'm hyped as hell to see because you guys know how much I love JoJo. And I've heard some great things about Diamond is Unbreakable, of course, including Kira. But enough jibba jabba. Let us begin with this week's episode. So starting us off, we got DIO and JoJo exchanging blows, just like as they were around the end of the last week's episode. Oh, and then while they're going at it, they're just going ham at it. You actually start with Jotaro and DIO start eventually floating in the air. Okay, can someone explain me how the hell Jotaro and DIO are flying? Because like later on in the episode, we see them straight out flying, and I'm like, how are y'all doing this? Anyway, but yeah, so apparently, and while they're exchanging, they slowly float into the air, but DIO manages to, like, while they're, like, punching at each other, DIO manages to slip his hand through, Star Platinum, actually managed to land a punch on Star Platinum, and so after that, they pretty much and then that's when DIO uses Zarwandle! And then we get this, finally, this is my tyranny with you, Joestar is a good end, blah, 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 blah. Also showing off some flashbacks to, part 1. So he uses a Zarwandle and walks up to Jotaro, and is about to decapitate him with his hand, when he notices Jotaro twitching. And he's like, wait, what? How are you moving? The time is frozen. How are you moving? Can he move? Can you speak? Can you even think? And so he's like, time's up. And so then he ends up just being behind Jotaro, where DIO asks me, can you see? Could you see my movements? He's like, you need to get your eyes? No, DIO, you need to get your eyes checked, DIO. And so that's when they start having flying there, and they're chasing after each other. They keep exchanging blows. He uses a Worldo again, and this time actually, we're trying to he sees Jotaro twitching again, but this time he notices that it's actually that Jotaro planted a magnet on DIO to, I guess, make him think that Jotaro can't actually move, or he can move. I don't know exactly what Jotaro was playing with the magnet, because then what's he like? Oh yeah, whatever. It's from a wallet or a pocket plan or whatever. He's about to he sends the Worldo to go get him to finish him off. That's when Jotaro manages to actually move. He straight up moves it while, the world is, fully functional, it's still moving, it's still doing everything. The time has not been 5 seconds. He manages to, and punches right through, punches right through the world, though. and then that's when they get back frozen time. He's like, wait, what, he can't move? How is this possible? And then so the time expires, then DIO is sent flying into this jewelry. I think it was like a jewelry shop. And when he goes to the glass, his leg gets one of his legs gets cut off, gets amputated off, from the falling glass. It's straight down while he flies through, and so he's like, ugh. So he can move while the world is active. Interesting. And he starts thinking, he said that, because he remembers when Jotaro told him, that Star Platinum and the world share very similar. So I guess, moving through time is, one of them is, DIO thinks. So anyway, he asks the woman to fetch him his leg. He ends up getting back his leg. He ends up also killing the woman, which then regenerates the hole he had in his chest, as if it was another, because as we know, he's a vampire as well as having a very OP stand. So once Jotaro lands back on the ground, we see DIO teleporting a couple times, using the world to move around, obviously. And where we then find out that Jotaro can indeed move within DIO's world, but only for a second. And as Jotaro says, if he had some practice, he could probably do it for some long. But since Jotaro doesn't really have any chance to do any practice, because he's in the middle of a battle of the death with DIO, he can't. So all he can really do is a second. And so he ends up using the world again. This time he actually has a bunch of throwing knives. This time, like he was about to do with Joseph. with our boy Joseph this time, but then so Dio just throws all these knives at Jotaro, but around like the end of the second, Jotaro manages to move the second he can, block some of the knives just so to give him a little bit of it. Then once time resets, Star Platinum does his best to block all. He does a decent job, and that's the man. Star Platinum does a good job of blocking most of them, but a few of them managed to hit our man Jotaro. He had I think it was like 3 in the chest. I think he actually got 1 in the head, but it wasn't really anywhere near the brain or really did any significant damage. Or really any damage to begin with. So he falls to the ground, and this is where Jotaro kind of plays some mind games. He plays possum. This part was very suspenseful, I gotta say. So props to Wit Studios, Araki. This was definitely very suspenseful to actually sit down and watch. I was like, oh shit, how is Jotaro gonna get out of this? Everything. So but when we check, of course, being Jotaro Joe's classic Joestar fashion, he actually had some magazines in his. He shoved some magazines underneath his shirt that actually did take the most of the damage from the hits. That took most of the damage from the hits from the knife. So he did. So there was he's still bleeding, and he probably took some fall damage, but there wasn't a real major. But the magazines took the blunt of the damage, thankfully. After this, Dio checks to make sure that Jotaro is dead. He's like, no, I don't know if you're alive or dead, but I think I'm gonna just take this giant ass slide and decapitate you just to make sure that you are indeed dead. And so once he's about to strike, my man Polnareff comes in with the clutch save and lands the jab in his head, jab his sword right in his head. And I was like, but sorry, he didn't really do any real damage, really do any significant damage to his skull. But so he ends up using the Whirlwind again to get out of the way and punch, and that's just punches Polnareff into a wall. And from here we have this so he punches him in a wall. And Jotaro's still trying to stay completely still to make sure that he can still has the element of surprise. So that he can do and land a good, nice blow right in his head to give him some serious brain damage, so that way he cannot recover. Because as we know, one of the main weaknesses of vampires is definitely to kill a vampire, I should say, besides one stakes, is decapitation or sunlight, but unless it's twilight. Anyway, once Dio starts going next to Polnareff and taking him out, Jotaro lightly twitches his finger. Just lightly, enough to where Dio hears it and lands right in front of our man Jotaro. And from here, the tension was ridiculous. I was on the edge of my seat while I was watching this on TV. I was like, oh shit. How is Jotaro gonna man up? So he ends up checking. So first we have some cops show up. They're like, put your hands up and go on the ground. Do y'all know who this guy is? It's fucking Dio. Do you not see the giant aura surrounding him? Just look at the way the man dresses! So anyway, Dio makes quick work of these cops. He actually stabs his fingers into one of the guy's necks. He tells you there, you see that man on the ground over there? I need you to shoot him. Shoot him in the leg or torso. So he ends up doing that, but actually Star Platinum manages to catch the bullet before it could really do any real damage to Jotaro. And from there on, he's like, I guess that was just a figment of my imagination. So he ends up checking. So he ends up checking to see if he's breathing. Which Jotaro manages a good job. Then he checks to make sure that he can hear his heartbeat. And Star Platinum legit holds his heart in place to where it can't move, so stops all the blood flow. And Jotaro's like, "Fuck this, hurts. I need to get get out of here." Because he stopped his heart. He's like, "I better not black out over this shit. This is gonna be, if I die this is gonna be morbidly ironic." But thankfully he manages to stop. Or he's like, I guess that was just a figment of my neck. So then he grabs a sign, is about to decapitate him. But that's when Star Platinum comes in there, counters it, and then just does, and manages to punch him right in there. We get and you get the X-ray thing like you do in Mortal Kombat, and it's and he hits his head he's like, oh shit, Zarudo! But Jotaro still manages to get through and nail right in his head, and we see the X-ray of his skull, and we just see Jotaro just crushes, he doesn't destroy his half, but all of his skull, but he manages to get a decent chunk out of his skull. You see blood coming out of his head. Glorious. And so that once he goes damn you, Jotaro. and where he can't actually move because, like just said, JoJo did some serious brain damage to the man's now paralyzed from the waist up, so he can't move his leg. So then JoJo manages to grab some gasoline and a lighter, and he's like, "I'm gonna burn you up, I'm gonna light you up, motherfucker, and make sure you stay dead this time." but then he ends up using the world. That's when and then when Dio like crawls away from the area and just like and gets to a nearby car, grabs onto like the bumper or whatever the back of the car is, and just starts flying. But then Jotaro comes in there, grabs one of his toys, and hits it and sends it hurling towards one of the tires. Boom! And then he's like tries to like leave for an outlet for one like the underground for like leads through like to the underground for one of those I forget what they were. The ones that lead to the sewers. I forget what they're called. But JoJo's just sitting there waiting, being like, "What up?" And so we get the classic. And at this point, using JoJo, this is like we win. Their victory is sealed. But no. This time we had something different. We says like JoJo's like, "Ha ha ha! You fool! This is all part of my plan. Don't you recognize this street?" And this street was where Joseph was. And keep in mind, Jotaro sent Dio flying right next to Joseph. He ends up drinking his blood, or taking his blood, whatever he had to do. So now, the mark is gone. He now can use Zawarudo for as long as he please, and the stand is fully his. Oh, next week's gonna be interesting. Now, I do know parts of next week from memes of JoJo being like, Roadrunner! Like, so I look forward to seeing that one dubbed, but I'm definitely curious. I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it dubbed and seeing it all as anime glory. So I'm hyped as hell seeing that for you, which I believe is also the final episode of Stardust Crusaders. And then the week after that, we got Diamonds Unbreakable, which I am hyped to see. So overall, this episode 9.5/10. Like I said, the art and animation was amazing. Voice acting was spectacular. This episode is just phenomenal. That suspense, the little mind game Dio had with Jotaro about make sure they had to make him think he was dead. Oh, that was some great shit. So yeah. So overall, my final verdict is a 9.5 out of 10. So hope y'all enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, subscribe if you're new. Follow my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, link down below. And as always, come back for more. See you guys next time.
She's too bad.